Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday live stream. So before we get going, as a little disclaimer, I will say that I'm still and continue to be short-term bearish, but I continue to buy Bitcoin. And actually, I'm doubling up on how much Bitcoin I'm buying and a couple of different alts. But the majority, by far, is Bitcoin. So it's kind of a little bit of a paradox to say, well, you're very, Rob, you sound very bearish. You should always be bullish like everybody else. Sorry, not that way. I think that we're going to go down, and I think we're going to continue this into December, and we'll see how it all works out. But again, short-term bearish, still continue to buy Bitcoin. And I understand the argument. We've talked about this ad nauseum, but for anybody else who's a thumbnail warrior who's going to come in here and say, this is not correct. There's this big thing going on. I get it. There's a lot of liquidity, and we're supposed to have more liquidity. But as a reminder, global liquidity is at an all-time high. It's $103 trillion globally. And in 2020, we had less than around 80 trillion. In 2021, we had just a little bit over 100 trillion. Now we're at 103 trillion. So, I mean, excuse me. In 2020, we had 63 trillion. And then in 2021, we creeped up between 78 all the way to the peak below 90 trillion. Now we're at 103 trillion. And of course, I get the liquidity issue. And of course, in the United States, we're at an all-time high. We're looking at roughly $22.5 trillion. I know the Fed just said they're going to end quantitative tightening on December 1st. But as a reminder, between the quantitative tightening ending and QE starting, there was a gap of roughly around 8 months. And they were cutting rates, and the Bitcoin price still went down. So I get the argument, trust me. And then with this, as far as like quantitative tightening, and I understand about the manufacturing PMI and it being below 50, also for the services PMI also being below, actually it is above 50 right now. And people talk about how great it's gonna be at 55. I get the business cycle and everything else. And I understand the difference between quantitative tightening, which, little fun fact, did you know that quantitative tightening hasn't been around for, as far as like the term itself? It was actually coined and started at 2017, quantitative tightening. Before that it was just, hey, we're not going to add it to our balance sheet. And then they started to do it actually at the end of 2017 into 2018, which I believe is why we had such a dramatic drop off in the Bitcoin price. But yeah, 2017 for quantitative tightening. Now, easing has been going on for quite some time. This is quantitative tightening. Central banks contract the money supply. In quantitative easing, central banks create money supply. Pernigo Burr. Quantitative tightening, they sell the bonds to the bank to other financial institutions. Quantitative easing, they buy the bonds from the banks and they put it on their balance sheet. This reduces interest rates. In quantitative tightening, it raises interest rates. In quantitative tightening, it causes people in business to borrow less, so they spend less and create fewer jobs, slow the financial economy. Quantitative easing, it's the exact opposite. Businesses borrow more, they spend more, grows the finances. I got it. And that's just where we're at. So I see things moving in this pattern. And actually, Ben tuned me into this on our last NFA live show on Thursday. He said, hey, I just added in this chart, and if you want to talk about it. I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. And it's a good one. Quantitative tightening ending bear markets. And what we're taking a look here is if we believe that October 6th was somewhat at the top, I believe we're in a bear market. Does anybody think we're in a massively bullish market? I'm just curious. You can put that in the comment section. I mean, maybe it's just a pullback of 32%. I mean, sure, it could happen. And maybe we're going to go up. But I mean, there is a pretty bearish sentiment out there. We are down again, 30%. Good news doesn't move the market in any way, shape, or form. Bad news does move the market into a lower trajectory. And the sentiment itself is pretty bearish. And we could say that that's fear. So if that's your definition of a bear market, then I'm with you. If not, hey, I just see it as a bear market. That's where we're at. Doesn't really matter to me if we're a bear or bull. I mean, it just depends on how much I'm spending as far as like buying. And again, actually double up my buys for Bitcoin. So if we can take a look at what's going on now, because again, quantitative tightening, the term, and then the Fed adding onto their balance sheet or reducing their balance sheet, depending on quantitative tightening, quantitative easing, was started in 2017 as far as quantitative tightening. 2017. So we don't really have that many data points, quite honestly. However, we can see this is our trajectory right now. Quantitative tightening, as far as like ending bear markets, this is in October, November, and now here we are into December, and December 1st is when we actually started quantitative or ending quantitative tightening. But what does that look like before? Because we did this like we talked about here. We ended the quantitative tightening. Actually, this is a little bit incorrect. It's actually, I believe this started in June, July, pretty close. And we can see over here, this is how it worked out last time. It's almost the same thing, and it keeps happening. I mean, even though it's, again, we don't have any data points. We can see that quantitative tightening, ending the bear markets. This was in June 26. Now, quantitative tightening, I believe, began in July or August. Correct me in the comment section, 2019. But you can see as it just started to go, just come down. Then there was a little rally, then it came down again, and again, and again, and again. And then there was a little bit of a rally, and then it just dropped off the face of the planet. Now, this is, of course, because of coronavirus, right? So what would that look 3 months later? Well, this is what we have. And in my opinion, with quantitative tightening ending, I think things would have done pretty well. It just took us this much time to recover. So for this time frame, you're looking at August 30th. Let's just say that's September 1st. We were moving sideways and having a little bit of a rally all the way into next year, February. So that is what? September, October, November, December, January. That's like 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months to get back to here. And then what happens to a peak? Well, that's what happens. So why am I buying Bitcoin down here? Because I think, and I am not for sure if this is going to happen in Q1, Q2, Q3 of 2026. I think if we go past Q2, we're going to have some problems. But regardless, I think moving forward, this was always the play. This was always the time to buy in. Even though you're bearish, even if you're like me, unless you're bullish. I mean, if you're bullish, great, just stick around. It's going to keep going up forever. I'm just personally short-term bearish in what's happening and going from there. So the question is, okay, well, that's great that you're buying. What does this mean for me? I'm just taking a look and using what's called dynamic DCA'ing, just using risk levels. And I actually get alerts. This is on Ben's website. If you want to check it out, there's a link in the description. Most of this, or some of this stuff's free. Most of it's paywall, but you get 10% off the first month. But if you take a look at the Fiat Risk, we're already at 0.41. What does that mean? It means that I'm doubling up on what I buy. We've been talking about this risk levels at 0.52 and 0.55. And what's been happening is as the price goes down, you've got options. One option is to do nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't do anything. Just sit back and go, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to sit here, watch the football games. Whatever happens, happens. Great. I'll see you when it goes back up. Fantastic. Others say, I'm out. I'm tired of this stuff, and I sell. And I actually asked everybody to get out if they want to, roughly 2-3 weeks ago. Not a good video. People were not happy with what I said. But I was just like, look, if this is not for you and this makes you nervous, you need to get out now. Because, I've tried to help you out and I can't give you financial advice. But if this is like for you and you're just too nervous, then get out. However, as time goes on, I think you'll be happy if you stick around. But I'm not your dad, so you can do whatever you want to do. So like with this one, we're at 0.41. And how does this work? It's very simple. Dynamic DCA just goes like this. You just use the risk bands. And let's just say that, well, today we're in 0.4, which historically speaking is a pretty big time frame. That's right here in that 913-day thing. So how it would work, let's just say you're doing $100 a week, or $10 a day, or $100 a day, or 10,000 a day. I don't know what kind of baller you are or not. But what it means is, as the risk levels go down, I start to buy more. But the price is going down, I just keep doing it. And when the price goes up, that means the risk levels go up, and I start to cut. So like in this situation, if we were at 0.3 to 0.4, I double up. At 0.2 to 0.3, I triple up. At 0.1 to 0.2, I quadruple up. And then around here, which never happens almost, 0.0 to 0.1, I'm doing like a 5x daily buys of Bitcoin. That's all it is. And historically speaking, it's worked out relatively well as time has gone on. Now, there is something I'd like to share, and then we'll get to Q&A, which is this. This time sucks because you're going to be in the red. And all of the gains happen when nobody wants to stick around. This is the DCA, Bitcoin DCA simulation. And we can just see I added in Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, Solana, and Tron. And actually, I want to change this because this was starting in July 1st, 2022. Let me change this real quick. Whoops. Let me go to 2023. Maybe this is where you started, 2023, somewhere around there, right? And you'll notice that, you know, down around here, price was not moving too well. And your profits and losses were pretty crappy because nothing was really going on. There were some issues. People were fearful, all that stuff, right? And you're just kind of throwing sand in the ocean here, like we talk about. Look at that. You've been investing for July, August, 5-6 months, coming on a year, and it's just red. Maybe you're up a little bit on Tron or Solana. It's sad. Nobody cares. And then here you go. And then as time goes on, you're doing pretty well. And like on January 18th, 2025, congratulations. You were up a 3x on a Solana. Bitcoin, did a 2x. Tron, you did a 2x. BNB, roughly a 2x. Ethereum, not too bad, 33%. But what you failed to do, myself included, I didn't take as much profits as I should have. And that's why everybody over here is complaining, where's my bull market? Where's the euphoria? Where's all the indicators? It didn't happen. Yeah, it did. You just didn't sell enough. And that's what it comes down to. So one thing you'll notice here, though, is that if you've been buying since 2023, look at these numbers, 218, 140%, 131. That's great, right? But if you would have gone further back to July 2022, when everything was red, constantly red, 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 a little bit of green, red, 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 green and red. And over here, get out of there. That's where all the gains are at. And even now, you'd still be up. But the problem is that no one wants to buy down here. It sucks and it's boring, and you're throwing sand in the ocean, like we talked about. But those are the ones that usually come out ahead and the ones that don't complain too much. And I appreciate for doing that. And that's it for today. So look, I know it's not like something you want to hear. A lot of times people are like, they're just like, I'm exhausted. I get it. I do. But I still think we're going to go down even further. So people say, well, why would you even buy Bitcoin if you think it's going to go down even further? Because I don't know. Nobody knows for sure. I'm just making educated guesses, like every single person out there that tells you with 100% assurance, oh, it's going to do this because of this. They don't know. They don't know. It's a good guess, though. So I'll just continue buying, and then as time goes on, eventually goes up, I'll sell, and that'll be that. Anyhow, that's it for today. Like today's video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing when we talk about it's time sensitive. Now, let's get into a little Q&A, and I'll answer all your questions and go from there. Let's see. AJ says the U.S. time is over. Maybe. I mean, every great superpower does eventually collapse. That is the truth. Oh, AJ's really making a thing of it. Trump and family corruption, American poor. AJ, why don't you tell me a specific country that isn't corrupt? Tell me politicians that are 100% truthful and do not use insider information to enrich themselves. I would love to move to that country, but I don't think that exists. Inflation is transitory. Where's my banana? Yeah, you know, I mean, it was a good guess, but we'll see if it comes through. Again, I just don't. We're in the midterms. Well, the midterm year is next year. And as you know, traditional markets and the crypto market usually has a tough time, especially as we see that Democrats will probably take back the House. So it's going to be kind of rocky for a bit. Let's see. Wait, Rob doesn't know for sure. Now you tell me. Yeah, it is. You know, I mean, I just wish people would just say like, hey, these are educated guesses. There's very few people that say that, and I hang out with those people, and I appreciate it. The Dallas Cowboys time is, well, that could be true. Antarctica isn't corrupt. Well, of course it's not, because it's the government over there is all of the aliens and unidentified flying objects, or UAPs as they're called now. U.S. declining power. Crypto feels like gambling these days. Maybe Bitcoin, not so much. Yeah, and I think moving forward, Kevin O'Leary had a good point. He said, you know, 90% or 80 to 90% of the value of all digital assets are essentially focused into Bitcoin and Ethereum. And he says we should just stick with that. And I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, it's true, but I mean, there's good gains to be made for different altcoins, but they're so risky, and who knows which one's going to actually make it. I remember Polkadot, how great Polkadot was, and it was supposed to be like the next greatest thing of all time. Now where is it? And then and look at Chainlink. Chainlink is a great project. Every different asset needs it to pull in outside data into the blockchain, yet total laggard for some reason. Seems like the more utility something has, the lower it goes. So maybe there's something to be said about that. Maybe that's just how it is. Bitcoin, Ethereum, layer 2s. I personally don't like the layer 2 solution, but here we are. I like Binance, Ethereum, Solana, and Tron. That's about it. India's a rising power, sure. Tesla is my largest holding. Pretty good. James sent me a message, and he was showing me the CAGR, the different appreciation levels for Tesla that he's going to put out. And I got to tell you, it's a pretty compelling argument how well Tesla is doing. But I mean, Tesla over the long haul is probably going to be the biggest play. I mean, what other company do you have out there that's pretty much doing everything? So we'll see. Yeah, pudgy penguins are corrupt. It's true. May we all be millionaires in 5 years, which is DCA? No, you won't be. Not everybody will be a millionaire, but you should be ahead of the game. As a reminder, 4 years, if you take anybody who has invested into Bitcoin 4 years out, they're all in profit. All. Let's see. Yeah, Luna was the greatest thing of all time, which is quite interesting that right now that Luna is actually having a moment again for some reason. Take a look at this. One of the big movers. Terra Luna Classic. Yeah, I don't know. That's to commemorate Do Kwon being sentenced to jail or what? Yeah, Kenny says, Chainlink isn't going up because people are gambling on memes and S coins. No, I mean, there was a stat that was put out about all the DEXs on Solana that it was less than 5% for meme coins. Who's dabbling in meme coins these days? I mean, come on. I mean, Dogecoin, I mean, I still have a little Doge. Why not? But I mean, all the rest of that stuff, that's dumb. I don't think people are really gambling on that. I mean, you'll have some of it, but as far as like the volume, it's not much. Yeah, Luna Classic ripping. Google's going to be the winner. I'm thinking with the AI play, Google's going to be the winner. I think OpenAI and ChatGPT are having issues. That's why Sam Altman issued a red alert recently. But if you're using Google and Gemini right now, it's pretty impressive stuff. I'm using it right now. Actually, that's where the thumbnail came from for today. It's pretty good. Let's see. Rob, did you hear that Peter Schiff wants to debate the economy with Donald J. Trump after Trump called him an idiot? First of all, congratulations to Peter Schiff for investing in an asset that crushed Bitcoin for the year. I don't make the rules. It's just what's going on. And secondly, Peter Schiff would probably destroy Donald Trump in a debate. Let's see. Altman is not to be trusted. Fantastic weekend. And I think that's it. Oh, Binance keeps burning Luna Classic. They must have a boatload of it and just want to dump it on people. So they're like, hey, we're going to burn it. And then people pile in like suckers. Rug pull. Have fun. That's a good way to leave it right there. Anyhow, that's it for today, everybody. So thanks for tuning in on a Saturday. I appreciate you. Like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe, all that great stuff. Tomorrow we'll be doing the usual Sip Sunday with Jerry V. Hall. So check that out for tomorrow. But that's it for today. Thanks so much, everybody. See you on the next one. Adios.